Growing up in New Rochelle, New York, Matt Dillon was surrounded by a creative atmosphere from an early age. His family was large and close-knit, and his father, Paul Dillon, was a portrait painter as well as a sales manager, bringing together artistic sensibility and everyday practicality. Matt's mother, Mary Ellen, was a homemaker deeply devoted to her children, encouraging their interests and talents. Because he was the second of 6 children, Matt learned to stand out and navigate a lively household, which likely helped him become comfortable in front of others. As a kid, he was drawn to movies and music, spending long hours watching classic films on television and listening to records, which shaped an interest in the world of performance. Matt's discovery by talent scouts happened by chance when he was 14, skipping school to hang out with friends, and caught the eye of casting agents searching for fresh faces for the film Over the Edge. This sudden start in film introduced Matt to experienced directors like Jonathan Kaplan, who guided him during his first big role and helped him understand the serious side of acting. Over time, Matt worked with several key figures, including Francis Ford Coppola, who cast him in The Outsiders, and Rumblefish, giving him the opportunity to learn from both the director and his talented peers. Through these experiences, Matt developed a respect for storytelling and authenticity on screen, often seeking advice and inspiration from older actors and filmmakers whom he admired. In addition to professional mentors, Matt's family remained a steady influence, especially his older brother Kevin Dillon, who also became an actor. Their shared passion for acting fueled healthy competition and mutual support. The mix of a warm home life, chance encounters, and early mentors in the industry created the foundation for Matt Dillon's long and varied career in film and television, helping him to build confidence and find his distinct style as an actor. Starting out as a teen heartthrob, Matt Dillon quickly gained respect as a versatile actor, taking on roles in dramas, comedies, and thrillers. He is widely known for movies like The Outsiders, Drugstore Cowboy, and There's Something About Mary, as well as his powerful performance in Crash. Over the years, many people have connected with his work, finding their own favorite film or moment, a story that stays with them. Which work of Matt Dillon do you hold closest to your heart? What enduring qualities do you think make Matt Dillon an everlasting symbol of the industry? Maybe it's his steady acting style, or the way he always seems real on screen, no matter the part he plays. Some might say his deep voice and unique look set him apart, while others might appreciate how he often picks roles that challenge him and surprise his fans. Do you have a memory or a personal story related to Matt Dillon? Maybe you met him at an event, or maybe his movies remind you of a special time in your life. We would love to hear your stories and memories in the comments below. Get ready for some funny, shocking, and sad facts about Matt Dillon's life and career. Keep watching this video to learn more. Back in the late 70s, Matt Dillon was a restless teenager in New Rochelle, New York, not thinking much about movie sets or fame. One day he skipped school and ended up walking through a local hall when a casting agent spotted him out of the blue. She approached, asking if he'd ever thought about being in movies, and he shrugged it off, believing she was joking. But curiosity tugged at him, and when she invited him to audition for a gritty film about teenage life called Over the Edge, he showed up. Stepping onto the set for the first time, Matt didn't quite know what to expect, but something clicked when the cameras rolled. The world took on a new focus. The noise around him faded, and it felt like entering a different dimension. Recalling those early moments, Matt has described the energy on set, the way everyone chased the perfect shot, the real camaraderie of making something from nothing, and the realization that telling stories could capture people's attention in a way he'd never felt before. The excitement of pretending, the instant feedback from directors, the sense that he could be both himself and someone else at once, all of it pulled him in deeper with every scene. Soon after, he realized it wasn't just fun. It filled a gap he hadn't known he had, a place to send all the restlessness and fierce energy that had gotten him in trouble before. Knowing that real human moments, pain, laughter, confusion, and rebellion could all become part of a movie made him want to dig in, learn more, and never let go of that spark. Each role after that, from the troubled Dallas in The Outsiders to further complex characters, carried the same rush of adrenaline he felt the first time he made an audience believe a character was real. Instead of just passing through life, he could live hundreds of lives, all through acting, sparking a lifelong passion that he still talks about with the unmistakable excitement of that first discovery. Starting out as a young actor, Matt Dillon quickly became a key figure in American cinema. Throughout his early career, he was known for authentic portrayals of troubled and complex young men, which helped shape the coming-of-age genre in Hollywood. As he transitioned into more mature roles, his choices influenced casting decisions and the types of characters written for film. By working with both established directors and rising talents, Dillon helped introduce new voices and storytelling styles to mainstream film. His performances in films like Drugstore Cowboy brought greater attention to independent cinema and inspired a new generation of actors to pursue nuanced, realistic roles. At the same time, his ability to move between independent projects and major studio releases demonstrated that serious acting was not limited to any single kind of movie. This flexibility opened doors for other actors to take similar paths without getting typecast. Over the years, Dillon's steady presence in films that pushed social boundaries or tackled difficult themes contributed to Hollywood's willingness to take more creative risks. However, Matt Dillon's journey into acting wasn't just luck or talent showing up at the right place. For someone who had grown up in a working-class family, with money always tight, the path to Hollywood wasn't exactly rolled out like a red carpet. Early on, Matt faced the kind of skepticism that could have sent most people running. People told him he didn't have the right look. He was too raw, too unpolished. Doors didn't just open on the first knock, and casting agents often asked him why someone like him, a kid from a New York suburb, and not the child of someone famous, thought he'd make it in such a tough business. Even when Matt landed a role, that didn't guarantee the next one. Money was often a serious problem. Sometimes he had to help his family out, or worry that all the attention would fade and he'd have to go back to odd jobs. Yet Matt never let himself believe that defeat was the end. He became resourceful, taking on roles in independent films when the big studios wouldn't call, traveling to auditions on his own dime, and learning how to memorize scripts fast and bring new emotions into each role. The more he was told he couldn't make it, the harder he worked. He watched other actors, took mental notes on film sets, and studied how to bring honesty to every line, even if that meant going against what directors wanted. Instead of playing the hero, he took on characters who were flawed or misunderstood, using his own experiences to give depth to every part. Little by little, Matt carved out a reputation as someone who delivered honest, unforgettable performances no matter the budget or the size of the role. That resilience, built from early struggles, gave him the staying power he's known for today. Starting with Wild Things, Matt Dillon plays Sam Lombardo, a high school guidance counselor caught in a complicated situation. In a coincidence, Dillon and Corey Pendergast, who appears as his student friend Jimmy, also acted together in There's Something About Mary during the same year, connecting their careers in an unexpected way. Shifting to singles, Dillon takes on the role of Cliff Pontier, a musician trying to find his way in Seattle's grunge scene. The film's soundtrack became highly influential, and years later was reissued as a deluxe edition with new mastering, interviews, and unreleased tracks. This special release arrived a day after Chris Cornell's death, although plans were made months in advance. The bonus material includes rare songs and live recordings from artists like Paul Westerberg, Alice in Chains, and Mudhoney. Among the highlights is the first official release of Touch Me I'm Dick, a song recorded by Dillon's fictional band Citizen Dick, with members of Pearl Jam, giving fans something they had waited on for decades. In The Outsiders, Dillon portrays Dallas Winston, a character known for his tough attitude. During filming, a scene where Dallas harasses Cherry created real off-screen tension between Dillon and Diane Lane. Both actors later shared that the early discomfort on set was genuine, which added to the realism of their conflict in the film. When the cast reunited years later, everyone remembered the feud, but Lane eventually saw the humor in it, saying her sensitivity came from teenage insecurities. Despite this rocky start, she and Dillon later built a lasting friendship while working on war films together, even playing love interest. Their story shows how relationships can shift from tension to strong bonds, with memories that help define their experiences in film. Early in his career, picking the role of a streetwise teen in Over the Edge set the stage for Matt Dillon to become Hollywood's favorite tough kid. Then, his performance in My Bodyguard and Little Darlings made people realize he had more to show than just a rebellious look. When he starred in The Outsiders and Rumblefish, critics began to notice his raw talent. Francis Ford Coppola, who directed both movies, praised how naturally Dillon captured the troubled youth of the time. Soon after, Drugstore Cowboy marked a major turning point. Playing a small-time drug addict, Dillon gained serious respect. Critics called his work here honest and magnetic, with Roger Ebert highlighting how he made his flawed character both desperate and likable. Collaborators from these films have spoken about his patience and willingness to listen, with Gus Van Sant, the director of Drugstore Cowboy, recalling him as fearless and committed to the truth of his character. Later on, Dillon proved he could do comedy with There's Something About Mary. This time, he brought out a funny, awkward side, and the film became a hit, with his performance singled out by reviewers for its sly humor. As his career developed, his dramatic work in Crash won him a lot of praise, and even an Academy Award nomination. Paul Haggis, who directed Crash, said Dillon had a way of showing deep emotions with only a look, making his role as a troubled cop feel real and painful. Fellow actors have pointed out how Dillon's steady presence on set makes others better, and several critics commented that his career has been full of reinvention, never stuck in a single genre or type. Throughout his different roles, moments such as his first leading part, his turn in Drugstore Cowboy, his unexpected comedic timing in There's Something About Mary, and the heavy emotional work in Crash reveal how Dillon's choices shifted people's perceptions about him. Directors, fellow actors, and critics describe him as someone unafraid to take risks and dig deeper with each project. These breakthroughs did not just shape his filmography. They showed that he could surprise audiences again and again, building a reputation as one of the most adaptable and quietly powerful actors of his generation. Starting with his passion for travel, Matt Dillon has spent a lot of time exploring Southeast Asia. He has shown interest in different cultures and ways of life, which adds depth to his experiences beyond acting. While many celebrities stick to familiar places, Dillon seeks out destinations most Americans do not visit, and he has talked about how travel shapes his worldview. In his professional life, he attended the Orange British Academy Film Awards in London in 2006. This appearance demonstrated his connection to the global film community and his recognition as an actor abroad. Moving to his work in film, Dillon played Sam Lombardo in the movie Wild Things. The director, John McNaughton, made a creative decision during production to cut a shower scene involving Dillon and his co-star Kevin Bacon, stating that he considered the scene unnecessary for the story. This behind-the-scenes choice highlights how film productions often consider what adds to the plot and what simply distracts the audience. Dillon's career shows a pattern of varied roles, international experiences, and respect for story-driven filmmaking. Throughout his long career, Matt Dillon has built a reputation for diving deeply into his characters, often transforming himself by connecting with their emotional realities. When working on a role, he spends time observing real people and places similar to those in the stories he tells, paying close attention to the way someone carries themselves, their manner of speaking, and how they react in difficult situations. Matt chooses roles that allow him to bring out layers of vulnerability or rawness, and his choices seem driven by a curiosity about people who don't fit the mold. His background growing up near New York City shaped his worldview, giving him a sense for the quiet struggles of working-class life and the small triumphs that happen away from the spotlight. In films like Drugstore Cowboy, he channels this understanding by showing the frustration and complexity within people who are often judged or overlooked. Matt's approach isn't loud or showy. Instead, he relies on subtle gestures and careful listening, learning as much from what is not said as from what is. He favors scripts that give space for ambiguity, so viewers can see the world from another's perspective without being told what to feel. Over time, Matt has also stepped behind the camera, directing and writing, in order to share stories that reflect his own curiosity and compassion. He draws on memories and personal relationships, creating characters who feel real and lived in. Whether he is playing a small-time crook, a lovesick teen, or a struggling parent, by challenging himself with new genres and settings, he keeps his work fresh, but he never loses that thread of empathy and honesty. He keeps his creative process grounded by staying connected to everyday people and using those encounters to build his performances from the ground up. Throughout many years in Hollywood, Matt Dillon has spoken little publicly about personal struggles with mental health, unlike many other celebrities. Still, he has mentioned in rare interviews that fame and constant public attention can create stress and anxiety even for people used to being in the spotlight. Early in his career, the pressure to maintain an image and to keep working was difficult. Sometimes feelings of doubt and uncertainty made things worse, especially when choosing roles or handling criticism from the public and the media. Later in life, he has acknowledged that being in a creative field helps him work through some of the emotional challenges, even though it can bring its own kind of stress. Additionally, he has observed friends and family experiencing mental health struggles and loss, making him more aware of personal well-being and the need for support. He believes in facing struggles by staying engaged in meaningful work and connecting with others. Over time, growing older has brought perspective, making it easier for him to talk openly about feelings and accept difficult moments instead of hiding them. Sharing these feelings with close people and seeking professional advice when needed have helped him manage personal ups and downs. He tries to maintain balance in life, avoids letting work completely take over, and stays active by traveling or exploring new places. Although Matt Dillon has not shared detailed stories about specific mental health diagnoses or treatments, his experiences reflect common struggles with stress, change, and the search for peace in a demanding business. Still, he continues to value the lessons that come from facing difficult times, and believes that caring for mental and emotional well-being matters to a long and steady career. Despite starting out as a teen heartthrob, Matt Dillon shaped his career with choices that broke away from stereotypes. Directors like Francis Ford Coppola spoke about Dillon's natural depth and intensity in films such as The Outsiders and Rumblefish, noting that he brought emotional complexity to roles that could have been one-dimensional. Over the decades, he's been praised for a grounded, authentic style that made every character seem relatable, even those with darker flaws. In the crime drama Drugstore Cowboy, Gus Van Sant credited Dillon's subtle approach for making the film's risky subject matter both accessible and empathetic. Critics often point to how Dillon embraced risky scripts and offbeat characters rather than sticking with safer commercial projects, influencing younger actors to see the value in unexpected roles. For example, actors like Leonardo DiCaprio and Ethan Hawke have mentioned being inspired by Dillon's fearless choices and his ability to bring honesty to every scene. Dillon's work in movies like Crash highlighted his skill at playing complex characters, driving home uncomfortable truths about race and morality without resorting to easy answers, which echoed in later ensemble films across the industry. Directors and writers praise how his understated performances nudged scripts toward realism, with storytelling that feels less scripted and more like life unfolding on screen. As more filmmakers wanted authenticity, they sought actors who could deliver subtlety and depth, mirroring Dillon's influence. Still active today, he has shown that it's possible to keep evolving, taking roles in independent films, television, and even directing his own projects, which encourages both peers and newcomers to stay creative and open to reinvention. At Stinky's Bar in Beautiful Girls, Tommy Birdman Rowland, played by Matt Dillon, faces criticism from Paul about how he treats women. Paul jokes with him about bullying, bringing up memories of high school, which fits because Dillon once played a bully in My Bodyguard early in his career. Away from his roles, he enjoys baseball, especially as a New York Mets fan, and collects cards featuring Mookie Wilson, back when he was cast as Dallas Winston in The Outsiders. Then 18-year-old Dillon struggled at times on set. During one difficult shoot, Francis Ford Coppola lost patience with Dillon's antics and called him an airhead. But with some help from S.E. Hinton, the tension eased, and everyone was able to continue working together. Coppola appreciated Dillon's work by the end and later included him in another project, showing the impact Dillon's attitude and performance had even when things did not start smoothly. Despite a career filled with gritty roles and dramatic storylines, Matt Dillon finds his greatest inspiration in the experiences and values shaped far from film sets and red carpets. Growing up in a close-knit suburban family, he carries a respect for authenticity, loyalty, and the kind of understated hard work that rarely makes headlines. Off-screen, he's always been drawn to quiet moments of connection, simple family gatherings, afternoons spent listening to classic records, and trips that let him blend in with the city's everyday rhythm. These real-life moments ground his portrayals of complex characters and remind him to seek out scripts with emotional truth. Furthermore, he has shown a deep curiosity about the world beyond Hollywood, often traveling and immersing himself in different cultures, which adds a sense of empathy and openness to his work. Besides acting, he has devoted time to efforts supporting literacy and education, believing everyone should be able to tell their own story. When he directed a film about despair and hope in Cambodia, he did so not as a tourist but as someone trying to shed light on unseen lives. Using his platform to raise awareness of broader human struggles, he values authenticity, not only in his craft, but also in how he supports others, quietly backing causes related to refugees and underserved youth, rather than seeking attention for these commitments. His interest in the arts extends beyond film. He loves photography and music, often championing underrepresented musicians and local talent. Ultimately, his dedication to telling authentic, sometimes uncomfortable stories on screen is matched by a personal life shaped by humility, curiosity, and a desire to lend support where it matters most. On screen, Matt Dillon took on the role of Cameron Drake in and Out, where Joan Cusack played his former high school teacher. Although the characters share a history as student and teacher, the age difference between Dillon and Cusack is only 2 years. Their earlier work together in My Bodyguard saw them as classmates, which made their dynamic in the later film even more interesting. For In and Out, the story explains the close ages by mentioning that Cusack's character was a student teacher at the time she taught Dillon's. Away from acting, Dillon is also the uncle of 2 girls, Amy Dillon and Ava Dillon, who are the daughters of his brother Kevin Dillon. In Albino Alligator, Dillon played a character named Dova in a cast that included some well-known names. Faye Dunaway, an Oscar winner, joined the film alongside Oscar nominees Gary Sinise, Viggo Mortensen, and Matt Dillon himself. This lineup brought together strong acting talent, which added to the character-driven story of the film. Dillon's career has stretched across a wide range of roles, linking him with actors from many backgrounds and generations. both in lead roles and as part of large ensembles. Looking back, Matt Dillon has carried a unique energy throughout his career, making his mark both in front of and behind the camera. Starting as a teenager in dramatic roles, he soon proved himself able to handle everything from coming-of-age classics to gritty dramas and even comedies. Over the years, he's been praised for his ability to bring honesty and depth to every character, helping films like The Outsiders, Drugstore Cowboy, and Crash leave lasting impressions on audiences. His work doesn't just show technical skill, but also the respect he has for storytelling and the people involved in making movies. Moving into directing and producing later in his life shows that he isn't content to stand still, instead pushing himself to find new challenges and ways to tell stories. When asked about the future, Dillon often says he wants to keep stretching himself by finding projects that matter, creating roles with real emotional weight, and supporting young talent in the industry. He believes the next stage of his career is about choosing what feels meaningful, not just what is popular or profitable. To aspiring actors and filmmakers, Dillon emphasizes patience and a focus on learning, suggesting that the urge for quick fame can lead to shortcuts that sacrifice lasting growth. He encourages people to watch the classics, take small parts seriously, and pay attention to everyone on set, not just the stars. Dillon's influence can also be felt in the way he supports stories that might otherwise go untold, bringing his experience and insight to both independent and big studio films. The legacy he is building isn't just about his old roles, but the new ones he carves out, and the encouragement he gives the next generation to find their own way in film. Starting with his family, Matt Dillon is the son of Mary Ellen and Paul Dillon. Later in his career, he became known for his work with director Francis Ford Coppola and actress Diane Lane. In the film Rumblefish, Matt Dillon played Rusty James, a troubled teenager caught up in gang conflicts. This was his second time working with both Diane Lane and Francis Ford Coppola. Their earlier collaboration was The Outsiders, a movie based on the novel by S.E. Hinton, where Dillon took on the role of Dallas Winston. S.E. Hinton picked Matt Dillon specifically for this role after seeing his performance in the movie Tex. Both films, Rumblefish and The Outsiders, are adaptations of S.E. Hinton's novels and look at youth, family, and the struggles faced by teenagers. Dillon's role in The Outsiders paved the way for his continued work with Coppola and Lane, helping to establish his place in Hollywood. His characters in these films are marked by their difficult lives and complex relationships, a pattern that shaped the kinds of roles he would take in future projects. These early collaborations gave him a strong start, showing his skill at playing layered, conflicted characters who face real-life challenges. Throughout decades on the big screen, Matt Dillon has given audiences more than just performances. He's offered windows into the lives of unforgettable characters, from his early days as a teenager in gritty coming-of-age stories to his mature roles in complex dramas and comedies. His adaptability has set him apart. Essentially, Dillon's passion for acting shows in his willingness to take risks, whether playing the troubled soul in The Outsiders or stepping into dark humor with There's Something About Mary. Over time, he's earned respect not only for his natural charisma, but also for his commitment to pushing his craft, even stepping behind the camera to direct City of Ghosts. Despite changes in Hollywood and shifting audience tastes, he's remained a magnetic presence. His performances linger because he constantly brings depth and honesty to each role. Moreover, his dedication has inspired younger actors and filmmakers, reminding us that true innovation in art comes from persistence, not settling for the familiar or easy path. The creative spark that fuels Dillon's career reflects the kind of perseverance that keeps the arts alive, proving that devotion to storytelling can turn ambition into legacy. A journey like Dillon's speaks to the idea that creativity, when paired with determination, can leave a mark on audiences and the industry for generations. Although Matt Dillon is most recognized for several standout roles, a few have special background stories. In singles, he played Cliff Pontier, though the original role offered to him was Steve Donner. His decision to play Cliff helped shape the film's focus on the grunge scene, as Cliff is a local musician in Seattle's underground music world, giving Dillon a chance to portray someone closely tied to the culture of the city at that time. Moving to Rumblefish, Francis Ford Coppola wanted to create a specific look and mood for the movie. To prepare the cast and crew, Coppola ran screenings of a few classic films, showing Decision Before Dawn to convey the kind of foggy atmosphere he wanted, and The Last Laugh to demonstrate how silent actors use their bodies to show emotion, giving Dillon a way to express himself without words. Coppola also showed The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, a German film with unusual angles, shadows, and set designs, which influenced how Rumblefish was shot. The result was a movie filled with shadows and smoke, creating a feeling that was both old-fashioned and stylish, while time-lapse shots of the sky added to the movie's dreamlike quality. In Drugstore Cowboy, Dillon took on the role of Bob, a small-time criminal with a troubled life. This film stands out among Dillon's career as his personal favorite, highlighting not only his skill but also his connection to the story. These movies show how Dillon often worked closely with visionary directors and took roles that offered deep, layered performances, resulting in films that are still discussed and remembered. Often mentioned in pop culture, Matt Dillon appears in the song After the Fire Sung by Roger Daltrey, where the lyrics create a picture of seeing him in black and white, explaining how memories sometimes lack color, and picturing Dillon riding his brother's Harley across the television, while laughter fills the room from watching Dom DeLuise. Then in film, Dillon portrayed Dallas Winston in The Outsiders. His role stands out for its intensity. In the story, Dallas is shot by the police after pointing an unloaded gun their way, showing how desperate actions lead to tragic ends. This storyline repeats for Dillon in Over the Edge, where his character again faces death from police after confronting them with an empty weapon. Besides his roles in movies and music references, he has also attended major events. For example, he was at the Irish Film and Television Awards in Dublin in February 2010, showing his connection to the industry beyond American cinema. Dillon often gets cast in roles of troubled or tragic youth, which shaped how audiences remember him from his earliest days on screen. Earlier in his career, he became recognized for his performances in dramatic films, often taking on parts that show the struggles of adolescence and conflict with authority. Through these roles and his place in pop culture, he remains a memorable figure in both film and music circles. Starting with his role in The Outsiders, Matt Dillon became widely recognized for playing Dallas Winston. One of the most memorable moments in the film comes at the end when Dallas shouts, "You'll never get me alive." This line was not in the script, and Matt Dillon created it in the moment. This improvisation added a layer of real emotion to the scene and reflected the tension in his character. Later on, Dillon took a very different path in his career by stepping into comedy when he played the role of Pat Healy in There's Something About Mary. He admitted that comedy did not come easy for him at first. Dillon mentioned that working in comedy is challenging because timing has to be precise, and every small shift can make a difference in how a joke lands with the audience. Despite being new to comedy, he managed to deliver a performance that stood out for its awkward humor and timing. Beyond his roles in movies, Dillon traveled to France to attend the Deauville Film Festival in 2002, where he promoted his film City of Ghosts. The festival gave him the opportunity to present his work to a European audience and connect with other filmmakers. These moments show how he moved between dramatic and comedic roles, continuing to grow as an actor in new directions. After giving up cigarettes in 1996, Matt Dillon continued to work on movies that gained wide attention. In 2004, he played Larry Moretto, a key role in a film that also starred actors who would go on to win or be nominated for Academy Awards. Nicole Kidman, Joaquin Phoenix, and Casey Affleck later became Oscar winners, while Dillon himself, along with Buck Henry and George Segal, received Oscar nominations in their careers. This movie stands out for its mix of talent and the way it showed each actor in a different light early in their film journey. Next, Dillon took on the role of Pat Healy in There's Something About Mary, a comedy that brought him into new territory with a story full of awkward moments and quick jokes. At one point in the movie, his character talks about the older days of Hollywood and mentions classics like The Karate Kid. This line has another meaning because a few years earlier, Dillon worked with Ralph Macchio, who played the main character in The Karate Kid. They were both in The Outsiders, an earlier film about a group of young people trying to find their place. All of these parts show Matt Dillon's ability to work with a range of actors and his place in movies that people continue to watch and talk about years later. Looking back at Matt Dillon's work in The Outsiders, his role as Dallas Winston stands out for its gritty realism. When Dallas robs the store, the tense moment is heightened by the appearance of the store clerk, played by character actor William Smith. Smith was known for his earlier performance as the villain Falconetti in Rich Man, Poor Man, a role that became a hallmark of on-screen menace. Interestingly, years after The Outsiders, Dillon's film Beautiful Girls contains a scene where his character Tommy talks to his roommate Paul about skipping a class reunion to stay home and re-watch Rich Man, Poor Man. In their conversation, they both remember Falconetti as the most frightening villain they had ever seen, making a clear connection between Dillon's career and Smith's legacy. Dillon's range could have led him in other directions. He was an original choice for the role of Frank Sangster in the dark comedy Novocaine, showing that directors saw his potential in genres beyond coming-of-age dramas. His work gained international attention, and he attended the Ischia Global Film and Music Fest in Italy, signaling his ongoing involvement in global cinema circles. Dillon's career shows links between iconic roles, behind-the-scenes casting choices, and the ways actors' reputations cross paths on and off the screen. Moving through the story of Drugstore Cowboy, Matt Dillon takes on the role of Bob, a character facing constant turmoil. Around the 30-minute mark in the film, there is a scene where Bob swings a golf club and accidentally smashes a lamp behind him. This was not in the script, but the moment was kept in the movie, showing how real accidents sometimes add to a performance. Later in the film, after Bob buries Nadine, he crosses himself as a sign of respect and possibly searching for comfort. This action connects closely to Matt Dillon's real life, as he is Catholic, and his genuine gesture adds honesty to the scene. Off-screen, Dillon has a strong interest in Cuban music, which influences some of his choices and hobbies outside acting. His appreciation for music from different cultures shows another side of his character, balancing his intense roles on screen with a broader interest in the arts and simple pleasures like listening to music. In Beautiful Girls, Matt Dillon played Tommy Birdman Rowland alongside a cast filled with talent. The movie included 3 Oscar winners Natalie Portman, Timothy Hutton, and Mira Sorvino, along with Oscar nominees Matt Dillon himself and Uma Thurman. The film tells a story about a group of friends coming together in a small town, exploring their relationships and personal struggles. Dillon's character stands out as someone caught between his high school glory days and coming to terms with adult life, bringing a sense of honesty to the group's dynamic. Earlier in his career, Dillon took on the role of Dallas Winston in The Outsiders, a film directed by Francis Ford Coppola. During production, Coppola wanted Dillon to gain a sense of the character's tough background by spending a night in jail. Instead, Dillon refused, telling Coppola that the director should spend the night in jail himself if he was so interested in that experience. This moment shows Dillon's confidence in his understanding of the character and his willingness to push back when needed. Later on, he attended the 10th annual Marrakech Film Festival in Morocco in January 2010, connecting with film communities around the world and continuing to show his dedication to acting and cinema. Starting with his role as Sam Lombardo in Wild Things, Matt Dillon showed his interest in playing complex characters. Earlier in his career, he appeared in the film A Kiss Before Dying, which is a remake of a movie with the same title starring Robert Wagner. Dillon's version brought the story to a new audience while connecting him to earlier Hollywood history. Later, Dillon played Cameron Drake in the movie In and Out. In one memorable scene, his character outed his teacher during an acceptance speech, a moment inspired by Tom Hanks' real speech at the Academy Awards, when Hanks thanked a gay teacher after winning for Philadelphia. This scene in the film sparked conversations about honesty and acceptance, linking Dillon's work with real-life moments of change in Hollywood. Next, Dillon's part as Larry Moretto in To Die For put him alongside musicians as well as actors. Andrew Scott, known for being the bass player in the Canadian band Sloan, joined the cast and also taught Dillon how to play drums for the movie, highlighting how Dillon often learns new skills for his roles and enjoys working with people from different backgrounds. Throughout these films, Dillon's choices show his interest in stories about personal secrets and public moments, often reflecting real events or classic stories. His roles involve him in both crime and drama, allowing him to work with actors and musicians and draw from real-life sources for authenticity. After auditioning for the role of Dallas Winston in The Outsiders, Matt Dillon was sent home by director Francis Ford Coppola, who told him he could leave. Dillon thought this meant he did not get the part, and quickly called his agent to share the bad news. However, Coppola had already decided to cast him as Dallas, and sent him home because his mind was made up. Before this, Dillon had a chance to play Michael Richard Dickie Reynolds in The Blue Lagoon. The filmmakers held auditions for hundreds of boys, but chose Dillon in the end. Despite being selected, he turned down the role due to hesitations about the nudity required. Moving to his work in Beautiful Girls, Dillon played Tommy Birdman Rowland. In one scene, his character stays home and watches Rich Man, Poor Man, and says the villain Falconetti, played by William Smith, was the scariest. This moment points back to an interesting connection. Dillon and William Smith both acted in The Outsiders and Rumble Fish, with Smith playing the antagonist in both films. Dillon's early career reflects choices about roles and how sometimes directors are sure about their casting decisions right away, even before the actors know it themselves. Since working together on The Flamingo Kid, Matt Dillon and Fisher Stevens have maintained a strong friendship, staying close for several decades. During his career, Dillon took on a range of roles, including his part as Pat Healy in There's Something About Mary. While filming this comedy, Dillon was in a real-life relationship with Cameron Diaz, who played the female lead, adding a layer of real connection to their on-screen chemistry. Following that, he appeared as Sam Lombardo in Wild Things. A memorable scene sees Dillon's character meeting Kevin Bacon's character in a bar named Smiling Jack's Fishing Club. This bar name is a nod to another film where Kevin Bacon appeared, A Few Good Men, in which Tom Cruise's character calls Bacon's character Smiling Jack Ross. These connections show how actors' careers and experiences can overlap through both friendships and subtle movie references, building a network of stories behind the scenes as well as on screen. First, Matt Dillon played Pat Healy in There's Something About Mary, and this character's name is not a random choice. The names Ted and Healy together reference Ted Healy, who helped create the Three Stooges. The Farrelly brothers who made the film are known fans of the Three Stooges, so the duo's name is a small nod to comedy history. In a different role, Dillon appeared as Cameron Drake in and Out. His character attends the Academy Awards in a suit matched directly after what Brad Pitt wore at the 68th Annual Academy Awards in 1996. The filmmakers paid attention to details, making Cameron Drake's look a direct tribute, and this kind of detail shows Dillon's versatility in adopting different personas and styles on screen. Dillon was also considered for the part of Butch Coolidge in Pulp Fiction, the role that eventually went to Bruce Willis. He was an original favorite of Quentin Tarantino, who often picked actors with interesting backgrounds. Even though Dillon did not appear in Pulp Fiction, the fact that he was a top choice shows the level of respect he has from well-known directors. While Dillon is known for his work in both comedy and drama, his roles connect him to many larger stories in Hollywood. The legacy of classic comedy acts, references to famous style moments, and near misses with major parts in films that later became classics. His career reflects a mix of skill, timing, and participation in films that carry traces of pop culture, often connecting old and new audiences through clever references and performances that fit seamlessly into different types of stories. Looking back at Matt Dillon's career, audiences have seen him grow from a young heartthrob into a respected actor and director. Over the years, his performances in films like The Outsiders, Drugstore Cowboy, and Crash have left lasting impressions. In each role, he brings something special, whether it's the raw energy of youth in his early films or the subtle, complex emotions he portrays as an older actor. People often remember his ability to make each character feel real, whether they are troubled, charming, or vulnerable. His work in television and theater shows he is committed to his craft, never shying away from taking on new challenges. It would be wonderful to hear what moments or movies from Matt Dillon's career have stood out most to you. Share your thoughts about his work and legacy in the comments. If you enjoy reflecting on the creative people shaping entertainment, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories and conversations like